with me. We're going to keep going down his roster countdown as we're getting ever so close to the beginning of spring practice. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So stay with us. Thanks for making us your first listen. And this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. We'll talk about them in just a bit. But for now, let's get the show started.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's hard not to get fired up when that music comes in. Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Good. Still dancing to that music.
You look like the kind of guy who gets funky. Jimmy.
There has to be beer. There has to be beer.
All right, literally, you never listen to me when I say this. You have 30 seconds to give your input on Calvin Ridley and the gambling suspension. I just did a podcast with Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons, which I went ahead and put out there. It's really supposed to be out there for Wednesday, but it was so topical, I went ahead and put it out there. So this episode will actually be for Thursday that we're cutting a little bit early. But I thought that Aaron Freeman would have some good insight with Locked On Falcons. He did. I implore everybody, if you hadn't heard it, go back and listen. But Jimmy, your thoughts real quick.
Really sad for Calvin that he made such an egregious, huge mistake. And I believe he did it innocently. And by that, I mean that he didn't even try to hide what he was doing. I don't think Calvin realized what he was doing was wrong. It was extremely wrong. And I don't know that he realized it. So I hope he doesn't get the Pete Rose lifetime ban. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. I don't believe so, but it could. And if it does, hey, this is the one. It sounds crazy, but it's the biggest rule of them all, and he broke it.
I'm going to implore you to go back and listen to what Aaron Freeman said. I'm a little bit on the side of the punishment doesn't really fit the crime, even though this is the cardinal sin when it comes to sports. The amount of money and the fact that the NFL has now not just dipped their toe in the gambling waters, they are swimming, they are bathing in gambling money. They actually have a team in Las Vegas. The Super Bowl's in Las Vegas in 2 years, and the damn draft is in Vegas this year. And everything is brought to you by FanDuel and DraftKings. And Ray Rice knocks a woman into next week on video in an elevator, unconscious, and he gets a 2-game suspension. Now he was essentially blackballed from the league. But I just feel like it's a little bit out of control and pretty hypocritical. And I feel like they are making him the poster child for this, when really, if they were just to say, you know what, Calvin, here's the deal. You're going to sit 3 games. You're not going to get paid for those games. And that's going to cost you a lot more than what you gambled on those stupid parlays. By the way, quit betting on parlays, Calvin. And then the next guy that does this, we want to make this the warning shot. The next guy that does this, it's a year. I could live with that. I think that's fair. But doing this now is, especially with the way the NFL's been about everything, is so overreaching to me. And I just don't get it. But, I also hate it because Calvin Ridley took a break for mental health purposes. And this is going to give that a stigma of, mental health. And as a guy who, I've said it on this podcast before, I take antidepressants. I have no problem saying that. I'm not super proud of it, but it's something that I've had to do. And, these things are real, and they can really get you down, and it can really affect you. And especially with the way everything's been with COVID, the pandemic, everything going on in the world today. Things can get you down, and the pressure can get to you. So anyway, having said all that, Jimmy, we want to get back to your roster countdown.
Sweet.
And this is going to be fun for both you and for me, because you don't have your countdown in front of you. So you're just having to go based on I
guess I do. I do have it in this notebook that I haven't bothered to open. It's in this notebook.
Okay. Well, let's start with number 38, Kendrick Blackshire, who I assume is a stunt double for Godzilla. I've never seen a human being this big, this intimidating. He is scary huge. the problem I think we all have with Kendrick Blackshire is, other than just putting him at midfield, why aren't he at midfield for every coin toss? They just, you might have to like take him out there on a forklift or something, but you put him out there for the coin toss and say, I don't choose head, I choose pain. So, I don't choose heads or tails, I choose pain. But anyway, what are your thoughts on him?
Well, good player, played on special teams as a true freshman. It's not easy to do because a lot of freshmen tried that, and Kendrick kind of won the spot. I think he's a future starter. I think right now the competition's a little too tough in terms of getting into the lineup. We don't normally rotate at that position. The starters play, and then the backups come in garbage time. So I think Kendrick will be a second-team player this fall. I think Henry To'o will, of course, return as the Mike linebacker. And the weak side linebacker starting spot is either going to go to veteran Jalen Moody, who's a senior, who's been there 4 years, or a superstar young player, Deontay Lawson. A lot of the fans haven't seen much of Deontay yet, but he's one of the guys on the team that hasn't really played a lot, that we're already, it's already a good wager to bet that Deontay Lawson is going to be a superstar player at Alabama, not just good. So Moody or Lawson will be the other spot. That means Blackshire is going to be a second-team player. And that's fine because Alabama's going to lose Moody to graduation. They're going to lose To'o to graduation in the NFL. So Blackshire has a great chance to be a starter in 2023. I hope he takes this fall very seriously because it's going to kind of be a launching point for him for next season.
Jimmy, when we come back, I want to talk about these next two rankings, which are mind-boggling, baffling, insane, even.
Perfect.
For now, just so that people can get ready for this craziness that's coming, let's also talk about March Madness. When you talk about March Madness, you want to go to Stat Hero. Stat Hero's single game pick'ems pits the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players you know best with a gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads or long odds or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage, resulting in their games winning 4 times more often. Why is that? Because Stat Hero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're up against. I mean, Stat Hero is just awesome. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be, y'all. The simple, sleek gameplay will have you playing in minutes. Sign in for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. Again, stathero.com/lockedon, promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions might apply. And I bet they do, but it doesn't matter. You're going to love it. Now, Jimmy, sometimes I like to brag that I'm friends with you, internet legend.
Don't ever do that.
Great American, world-renowned traveler.
You always do this before you're about to disagree.
This may be the most questionable ranking you have ever put together of anything.
Oh, did I accidentally slip Bryce in there at number 34?
No, somehow you put Jennings Hester at number 37. No, or is it Hennings Jester? We always got that mixed up. No, number 37, you have Christian Leary, which, okay, not terrible ranking there. I think it's a little low for him, but okay.
So you think it should be higher?
Excuse me. Well, I can live with 37 for Christian Leary, except when I see who number 36 is, which is Ajay Hall. Yeah. I like Ajay Hall. Yeah. But Ajay Hall was a headache for most of the year.
Right.
In the national championship game, he finally got his opportunity, and he did okay, especially for a freshman. I'm not complaining about his performance. I'm complaining about the performance based on the supposed complaining he was doing throughout the year about not playing enough. So my point is, how in Nick Saban's universe do you have Christian Leary below Ajay Hall? Explain thyself.
Okay. Well, first of all, 36 and 37. I mean, they're obviously nip and tuck there at 36 and 37. It's not like I had one at 7 and the other one at 54. I mean, they're right there next to each other. This is what I'd be willing to wager, actually. First of all, Christian Leary was moved to running back this past year. Obviously, he's going to be back at wide receiver this fall. And this is a projection of, who's the best player on the team right now. I think today Ajay Hall is a better wide receiver than Christian Leary, and that will be reflected in playing time. I think Ajay will play more at wide receiver than Christian Leary, maybe not by a lot. That's why they're so close in these rankings. There'll also be a post-spring ranking. Our minds can change after what happens in spring practice. But no, I think Ajay would be slightly ahead of Leary in the pecking order at wide receiver. And we can, if you like, we don't do this enough, but I think people will be entertained if we wagered like $1 right now. Write this down. They're wagering one American. No, let's wager a ruble. What's a ruble now? About half a cent.
Oh God, if it's half a cent, I mean you're at the wrong market. They don't even have a stock market anymore. They just took that thing down.
Let's wager 1,000 Russian rubles, which is like $1. I'll bet $1 today that Ajay catches more balls than Leary this fall.
Okay, I'm down. I'm down with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be fun.
And
this will be the reason people will listen to the podcast all year, because we have $1 riding on a receptions bet in the fall.
What's going in my favor here is because you're a guy who I'm pulling for. I kind of hope you're right. Oh, yeah. I hope either one of us is right. It doesn't matter. But my guy is less likely to be suspended than your guy. True?
Or I'll tell you what, to be totally honest, I think Hall or Leary could hit the portal after spring practice, and the bet would still stand. I think the bet should still stand. If like, let's say Leary hits the portal and Hall stays, obviously I'm going to win that $1. If it's vice versa, then I'll go ahead and pay the $1 in May if Hall leaves and Leary stays. But no, I think this is an interesting bet. I think with the wide receiver breakdown, most of the receivers, by the way, are ranked higher than this. There's a couple just ahead, and spoiler alert, Jermaine Burton's probably going to be in the top 10 or 12. These guys aren't first team receivers to me. I don't think either one will be first team, but I believe Hall is more likely to be part of the first team rotation than Leary. That's what I believe. But by the way, this all sounds like I'm not high on Christian Leary. I like Leary. I do. I think Leary's a good player. And I think there's a chance that a receiver or two could leave Alabama after the spring, go somewhere else, and prove to be good players. And I would consider Leary and Hall part of that group.
No. That's what makes it's sort of like our category in the recruiting superlatives about, who's most likely to hit the transfer portal. It's, when you rank these guys, if you rank somebody number 50, you're like, oh my God, you think he sucks? No, I mean, it's just he's number 50 based on the fact that, Alabama's got a ton of good dudes. I mean,
number 50 in the greatest program of all time.
Yeah, that's all it is. And by the way, your number 63 guy, Caden Clark, is already not on the roster.
Yeah, I've had people ask me, did he see my list and leave?
He got his feelings hurt. He's like, I'll show him. I'll go be the number 63 player somewhere else. All right, Jimmy. When we come back, we're going to finish this up. It's a lot of fun to do this, so I like this. This is a great idea you've got. But right now, I want to tell everybody about Run Your Pool. March Madness is, a few days away now. That means you need to start thinking about where you're going to be running your brackets. You want to do it at runyourpool.com. Are you going to go for the usual? Nah. Are you going to go for the best? Yeah. We've done our homework here at Locked On, and we're running brackets with runyourpool.com. Along with standard brackets, they have all kind of other brackets and fun stuff, and all this kind of information you don't get at ESPN or CBS. Go to runyourpool.com /locked on for a chance to win a cash prize. Runyourpool.com /locked on. And if you want to play against us, that's where you'll go. Join us at runyourpool.com /locked on. And while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off that custom pool. All rules and details will be available right there for you to get your bad self involved in runyourpool.com. Also, football might be over this season, but basketball, as you well know, is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcast news this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC, and everything that you need to bet on, except unless you're Calvin Ridley. Head to the website today to use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, Jimmy, at number 33, you have Darian Dalcourt. He's a center. I'm not trying to slight him, but give me something quick on him.
Well, understand that, this is a ranking of who's the best player on the team. And you might say it's Bryce or Will. Basically, I'm ranking the answers from best to worst. The best answer is number 1. The worst answer was number 63. So if you're at 33, you're well inside the 2 deep, right? The 2 deep is 44 guys. So I think Dalcourt will end up being the number 2 center. He ended last season the number 2 center, partly because of injuries. Seth McLaughlin overtook the starting center job from Darian. I think Seth will hold on to that myself. This is a ranking that could easily change post-spring. And even though I have Dalcourt at 33, I actually think he's a pretty good player. Maybe he deserves to be a little higher. I think we'll get a more accurate reading of Dalcourt after this spring, assuming he's healthy.
Number 34 is Trayshawn Holden. He caught 21 balls for 239 yards. He was fine. None of the group of receivers really, stood out. Ja'Cory Brooks ended up, of course, doing some good things against Auburn. But yeah, and I assume we'll see him a little bit later in the list. But Trayshawn Holden, what you got?
Well, it might surprise some people to know that Trayshawn Holden is our leading returning receiver as part of the receiver core, if you don't count the transfer, Jermaine Burton. Trayshawn caught quite a few balls. He's our biggest receiver. I think, Luke, you got in front. I think he's 6'3", 213, somewhere in that area. Real big, strong kid. Possession receiver, big catch radius. I think Trayshawn, we were talking about Leary and Ajayi earlier. I think Trayshawn has a better chance than those two to be in the first team.
Okay, that's
rotation.
And I think that's fair. I do. I'm fair with that. The only thing, again, that I go back to Leary, the fact that he can actually be in the backfield, I think may help him overall. And finally, for this set of rankings, number 33, this is a guy you always love this guy regardless, but everybody really is intrigued with Jalen Milroe. I find it a little odd. He's 6'2", 212, and Trayshawn Holden's listed at 6'3", 214. I'd be willing to bet if you asked any Alabama fan who's bigger, all of them would say Jalen Milroe.
That's right. Milroe is built differently than basically every other kid on the team. Trayshawn has a real big frame. He's sort of wide, and I think that's why he weighs more than Milroe. Because Holden, if the very first time, true story, I went to a practice. The very first time I ever saw Holden, I couldn't see his number where he was standing. I thought he was a tight end. I mean, I thought, why is a tight end standing in that part of the field? And he's a wide receiver. He just has such a wide frame. Milroe is built a little more compactly, but he is solid rock. I mean, Milroe is just ripped. I think pound for pound, he might be the strongest guy on the team. I think at his weight, he's the fastest guy on the team. I mean, it's impressive that, Aaron Anderson can run a 4.38, but he weighs 188 pounds. Milroe runs a 4.38 at 212, but regardless of that, Milroe plays quarterback. He doesn't play linebacker, running back, and people aren't knocked out by his passing yet. It is something that's in development. I'll just insist what I've insisted from the start. I think Milroe, even though he's not playing, is ahead of Jalen Hurts as a passer at the same stage. In other words, this is Milroe's second spring. I think Milroe might be a better passer in his second spring than Jalen Hurts was in his second spring. And just like Jalen got better and better and better and better, and now he's an NFL starting quarterback, I think Milroe is going to follow a very similar path as a passer. I hated ranking him this low. I actually think he should be higher. But the fact of the matter is, how much will we see Milroe? Probably very little. We're not going to rotate at quarterback. Milroe will come in at garbage time with the other backups after Bryce has already secured the game. So I rated Milroe the 33rd best player on the team. I actually think he's truly a little higher. I just couldn't rank him higher because we won't see a whole lot of him this fall.
All right, buddy. That'll do it for this episode. We will do some more ranking stuff, talk a little bit about Alabama and the SEC tournament. Hopefully, we're still talking about them in the SEC tournament come Friday. And until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.